Hello, will you consider this? Look at this, all this newness and beauty and a fresh new start, and it's great to be back. I had a nice little time off, but I do have a little something to share with you all, if you'll bear with me. Okay, so in January, I was coughing incredibly. A persistent cough. It was really annoying. And when my grandchildren even said something about it, then, they're 6 and 5 years old, that was bad. So I went and had some tests done, and I was diagnosed with non-small cell lung cancer. Trying to keep it together. I'm very fortunate because only 3% of all non-small cell lung cancer patients get a good result with this new pill that the first generation was like 2017 or 2018. I'm in the second generation of this pill, and I respond to it very well. So I'm a whole new person. I'm taking that magic pill every day. My oncologist said, you've hit the cancer lottery. And that's a real fun thing to say, but I did. I really, truly am grateful. I've had a lot of improvement. I've had a lot of tests, and I keep telling them I really do think that these people are vampires because I've given a lot of blood already since January. Anyway, I'm doing quite well, and I'm so happy to be back. And I have a special guest with me right now who's had his own crosses to bear, and that is my friend and my kid's friend, Matt Stein, also known as Blind Stein.
How are you doing, Mama Z?
Okay, and that's what he calls me, so that's all good. I'm great. I'm doing much better.
Yeah.
And if I were any better, I'd be twins, but the one that hadn't been diagnosed. Okay?
Fair enough, yeah.
Okay.
Always need a spare.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we know about the Royals and that one. So tell me, let's start with you. You are a homegrown Peorian.
Yes, born and raised West Peoria. Proud to be from the blue collar bubble. And grew up, went to public school here in Peoria, Whittier and Coolidge, and then did my parochial transfer over to Peoria Notre Dame, that's where I encountered your son and your guys' awesome family that now you've been stuck with for 23 plus years.
We love it. We love that. And okay, so, you were going along, everything was fine in your life. You had no idea that your vision was going.
Yeah, we had, I've been diagnosed with the genetic disease of retinitis pigmentosa. A few people in my family have it, so there was always like the possibility of me losing my sight growing up. As a kid, we knew that there might be a chance because once the street lights kicked on and all of us kids were playing outside and got the visual bell to go home, I was actually happy because once that happened, the world just kind of flipped on itself. And so playing catch, couldn't see the ball anymore. Tag, people just kind of disappeared just from like the light, the different concentrations of light.
Yeah, and you were how old about that time?
We noticed, I started to notice, consciously notice it probably when I was probably about 8 years old.
Really?
Or so.
But you didn't say anything.
No, I didn't really say anything. Just learned how to toughen up my shins by running into coffee tables and and as your son knows, my forehead can take on a couple trees.
Yeah,
so.
and it has. So that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 8 years old, and then and your brother also has the same.
Yeah, and my oldest brother Eric has the same eye disease. Mine was more rapid degeneration than his. He's 4 years older than me. He now uses a cane to kind of get around, but he can still read computer screens, and if he has high contrast on his phone, he can still kind of make out things. My progression was definitely a little bit more rapid.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't know, probably diet. No,
beer.
Yeah, lifestyle. Not sure. It's with all the specialists we've been to with the University of Iowa and Chicago and the Illinois Eye Center here, who have all been great. It's just anything in your fortunate case where it's or your unfortunate case with your cancer where it's some people, they have the same thing. It affects them differently. Other people, it's not as rapid, and there is something that kind of gives you the opportunity to keep moving forward with it. My personal opinion is just the big guy upstairs, I needed this to learn my lesson on how to just be a better human in general.
I like that. Well, that is really interesting. So high school is where your vision really started to go.
Yeah, started to kind of, high school was when the tunnel vision started to lock in. Like I played football, and then by junior year, once we went to night games, I was out, and then drove until roughly about the age of 19, and that's when my peripheral vision completely closed off, and I was, vision was within my shoulders. I stopped driving because when I was living in Madison, Wisconsin at the time, I almost took out a cyclist, and I was like, I'm good.
That's it. Yeah.
Then from there, that kind of stayed steady for a little bit, and then right around 2011 was like the year where everything kind of drastically started to fall off. One morning I woke up after a normal night, just got done listening to the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin and finishing up the Lord of the Rings trilogies on DVD, and next morning woke up, right eye was completely blocked out, and then that's when I noticed the compensation of that eye for my left eye, because then it was like looking through like a paper towel roll. And that's the first time I've ever experienced a panic attack.
Wow.
Got up off the couch, ran into the door frame, kind of was just like, oh, what's going on? Turned back to scan the room and realized I could only see a third of it, and I had blacked out. From there, I kind of went into my little self-doubt of like, what do I do now kind of thing.
And you kind of had a pity party.
Oh, yeah. It's just like anybody. And like, and of course, like, we're all very good of like being one way inside ourselves and then being another way projected out into public, So my way was just to act like everything was fine and dandy, oh, who cares? I went from kind of being a smart aleck to being optimistically funny. Which that's what kind of led me into the comedy world. Because when I lost my sight at that same time, I was working at Haddad's grocery store, where I thought I burnt the store down because I was running the fried chicken program at the time when that happened, and then
with not a whole lot of sight.
No, this was pre, because this was in January of the first year, and then in April of that following year is when like my vision closed off. So 2011 was a
pivotal year.
Yeah, it was a wild one where it was like, when are we finally going to hit the bottom of the pool so we can push off of it, you know, kind of thing. And so with that happening, and then like my sight being lost, it was just like I was kind of at a loss of like, how am I even going to pay for what I have? So I did the empowerment, lying thing to myself where I gave everything away. So like before I lost it, I took the control of like, well, if I give it away and I don't have it, at least I had a little bit of say in that, opposed to everything slowly just being like taken.
Right, away from you, losing total control.
Yeah, and that's when I had stripped my life down to basically 2 suitcases, and wanted to, before the vision went any worse, I wanted to go see a mountain sunset, so I went out to Denver, got to see the golden glow over the Rockies.
Awesome.
Ended up doing a comedy competition at Comedy Works, came in first, and it was the first time I had ever done stand-up, and so that was like, all right, maybe there's something to this.
Okay.
So I just kind of kept being a vagabond and bebopping around.
For how many years?
Man, that was probably from 2011 all the way up to about 2018. I was residency free and just a professional couch crasher.
Okay. That works.
Yeah, and but throughout that time period of doing that, I was also gaining some very bad habits. That rock star road life, and also trying to mask.
Drinking and smoking.
Yeah, a lot of drugs and alcohol, and it's amazing how you don't have to worry about things when you can't remember things.
Okay, well, there is that. Wow.
And that was my mentality for almost 9 years, which then kind of brought me into a very, all puns intended, dark place. And I realized that like what I was doing and who I was becoming was not who I liked.
Okay.
And I had that epiphany moment for myself, it's like, this is what they mean by selling your soul. Because I realized that like I was becoming the caricature of Blind Stein, and Matt Stein himself
was disappearing.
I didn't even know who he was anymore.
Yeah.
And I recognized it a little bit because some of my stage presence, it's like I'm doing and saying things that like I as a person don't even agree with. But the crowd enjoyed it, so, well, they're the ones currently paying.
So you sold it.
Yeah, paying my lifestyle, so I sold it to the populace.
But then you went into rehab. You put yourself in rehab.
Yeah, the best thing that could have happened was, honestly, for me, was COVID. Leading up to that, because of that, all the comedy circuits were shutting down. I realized that I had literally painted myself into a corner and did the thing that a lot of people have a problem doing, where it's like I finally asked for help. And realized that like what I was doing for myself was actually the thing that was working against myself. And went to rehab and got cleaned up, and I'll be 6 years sober come October. And I realized during that process of like both the counseling and therapy and rehab and everything that I was lying to myself. I was trying to surpass the grief process of actually losing my sight.
Sure, but but it's understandable.
Yeah, well, it's like, when you read about the 7 steps, you think you can skip a few of them, but you're going to go through all of them. They will come up, maybe not in the order that a book tells you to, but just in the actual mental capacity, it's going to happen. And then once that happened, so like with everything kind of shutting down and the comedy circuits getting closed, it forced me to kind of, actually get to know myself, and at that same time, I had just started the process of getting sober, so it was perfect for me. And then I realized that like, I don't think I'm an extrovert. I kind of like just hanging out by myself a little bit, which was a good thing.
Interesting, yeah.
But with that too, when there is like kind of a calling per se, because unfortunately throughout the time of like me doing stand-up in those previous years I had a lot of people like, it's inspiring that you're doing what you're doing. Because as I was, for that 9 years, I went to 15 different states, 40 plus cities.
And met a lot of people.
Met a lot of people, did it all on my own. I was fortunate that Peoria seems to be peppered everywhere throughout the U.S. So there's always some, that's
some connection.
Yeah, everyone's Kevin Bacon, So there's a way of finding someone that through someone in a city that you don't know. And so that was great because it was just a nice networking. But I forget where I was going with that. But by doing all that stuff by myself, everyone's just like, it's so inspiring. I can't believe that you did that.
That's where you were going with it.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of got caught up in the sense where it's like, although I don't want to bear this cross, if by me just being my true authentic self makes other people just go out and do something that they want to do, then I got to do it.
Then you found yourself. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's a very fortunate thing because I think the comedy club room is the great neutralizer. It doesn't matter your gender, your age, your race, your social status. You can have 2 people that outside of that room think that they have absolutely nothing in common, and then I can bring those same 2 people into said room, say one thing, and make them both laugh at the same time.
Good.
And realize that like we're not that different. Like society may want to make us think that we are, but we're all the same.
That's schism. Okay, so tell me about BS Entertainment. You have this skull, but it's not a crossbone. It's really a folded walking cane.
White cane, yeah. So the skull and cross walking stick. That was the branding that me and a couple of my friends up in Wisconsin kind of came up with, a few artists. Because in comedy, no one remembers a comic's name unless they're super famous. It's always, that one guy with the one face that says that one joke. And we were trying to figure out a way of basically branding. And so we came up with the skull and cross walking stick. One, because my comedy, although it's not like super harsh, it is edgy. So it's a good warning symbol to allow you, like, it's not going to be rainbows and unicorns.
Okay. No psyop. It's like, like the skull and crossbones on poison, right?
It's a warning, it's a warning. And not all things are poison. They're only poison if taken in excess.
Exactly. Or taken the wrong way.
Right, yes, yeah. And then it's just a way of kind of putting that caricature that I was putting on myself, literally just into an artistic form.
Okay.
And then that way, when you see that symbol, you can kind of, the goal is along the time that like you'll see that, and then that like, okay, that is equal to this quality of show.
All right.
And that's where the BS Entertainment came up, because there aren't too many options for comedy. But when a lot of people start to venture out and do their own stuff, the standard and quality sometimes can be overlooked. And that's where, with the 10 years of being on the road, I acquired a great Rolodex of other comics. And so
So you can bring them in for shows here.
100%, yeah. And it's just once again, it's in life. It's all about connections and networking, and all tide, high tides raise all ships.
Right.
So if you can get a good group of people together, and everyone can bring quality, fun entertainment, and of course I have my clean comics that we can make sure that everyone's happy with. There's some people that are a little bit darker, so those niche cults can kind of come in, but it allows for the avenue of just like Peoria, where there is a very diverse plethora of humans. Like, that's what I love about this city. And I'm able to then...
It's a melding pot.
Yeah, and I'm able to kind of allow that to pop up on different stages throughout the community, as well as cross-promoting with those communities that we have here. Everyone has a good service, but as humans, we tend to get into our routines.
Exactly.
And we like our one or two spots. And if I can be the mortar between the bricks to kind of help pull people from one space to another that they may like, it just helps kind of spread the pieces of the pie around a little bit more.
So you are looking for a home for your comedy. I mean, you've been, at a couple of different spots, and so we think you found it for right now.
Yes, yeah. Right now we have a great partnership working out with the 3300 Event Center.
Okay.
And then the beauty of like my business model is like we're a mobile turnkey. So even if you just have like a big event space, area that like you have, let's say like a membership of some sort, and you want to bring them entertainment, we can literally wheel in, set up sound, stage, lighting, backdrop, and transform your room over for whatever activity you want.
So who's on your crew?
It is a very thin skeleton crew. It's my buddy, we call him Pig, but Adam Watts, my sound guy Jay Edwards. Their wives and girlfriends are always kind of get sucked into the vortex.
All right.
And then your son Zach, I'm able to pull him in on some things that I need with. So it's been a nice network of people in Peoria that are willing to help, not only just out of charity or sympathy, but actually would like to see the community have
an option.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so it's just a good team of people that are willing to help, and everyone gets compensated. It's like I don't lean on my checkbook gets fat and skinny really fast.
Okay, there you go. Well, so what's been the most interesting approach that you've taken to any comedy? I mean, you're kind of going towards anything right now.
Yeah, I put myself in vicarious situations and then see what happens.
Okay.
And then I just transcribe that out on stage.
All right.
It's,
Do you gauge the audience first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I do what I call like my machine gun round as soon as I get up on stage, where you kind of test bomb everything. That's another thing that I love about being able to bring in comics that I know, is we all kind of understand that format of like where you're at in the lineup is to help the succession of the show.
To build to the last act.
And the very first person might have to take some slings and arrows, but they're actually setting, boundary posts so that the next person knows like, okay, like how big of a area do we have to play with?
All right. Is that discussed backstage then as you watch?
Not really. With good comics, it's just kind of known.
Okay.
Like there is no format where it's like, I need you to talk about this so that I know not to talk about that.
Got it.
But it's just with the team that I've collected of comics, I know everyone's style and kind of like what demographic that like they tend to tickle.
Okay.
And so just judging by their reactions, just over time by working with them, it's like I can almost to a T break down the demographic of that room, from how old they are to gender to
even though you can't see them.
Yeah, 100%.
So when you're selling tickets, though, do you know who's buying the tickets? I mean, obviously you don't know if there's some 70-year-olds or some 30-year-olds.
No, that's the one. Yeah, I'm not able to have that much data, but my IT guy Joe Rinke makes sure that like that process goes smooth and seamlessly.
All right.
And we probably could cheat and be like, hey, how old are you?
Oh yeah, there you go.
but it's like
you're not allowed to ask that question anymore.
Yeah, and nor do I would I want to,
right.
Because like I don't think your age should define like what type of. Look at Keith Richards. He's 13 years old in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he's
and still wrinkly and shriveled up. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the demeanor and personality is huge. It has nothing to do with like the ticker of the world,
Right. Well, okay. We'll bounce a little bit off. You're also bodybuilding right now.
Well, powerlifting.
Powerlifting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you got to bodybuild to powerlift.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry. My bad.
Once I swapped out that lifestyle change of the bar life for the barbell life, it's been a great thing. I think that there are a lot of parallels between like strength training and working out in the gym to life in general.
Okay.
There's no cheat code. It's my favorite Steinism is, if you try to cut corners in life, you end up circling back to where you started.
Aha.
So,
I like that one.
So you got to get square,
You're so far beyond in your years. Yeah.
And just with weight training, it's time, persistence, and dedication. Just like anything in life that you do. If you want to do it, it takes time, persistence, and
How did you decide you wanted to do that?
Well, after stopping to drink, I needed to get into better shape in general.
Okay.
And then once I fell in love with the sport of powerlifting, I realized that I'm never going to change my diet because I like food.
Okay.
And when you powerlift, you actually get to eat more food.
Aha.
So due to the high caloric intake was what
that sold you on it.
led me into that. And I've done one competition so far with the UPA Lifting Association at the Peoria Civic Center. I surprisingly won my division. I wasn't personally happy with the numbers I hit because we all have our own personal goals.
Yeah.
But then I realized that I asked one of my teammates, I was like, is this because I'm blind? Is this like a disabled thing? And they go, no, it's because you're old.
Oh.
So,
but you're only 38.
But powerlifting is a young man's
All
game.
right, got it.
So apparently I won the sub-masters category, so I beat everyone between the ages of 36 and 42.
Aha.
And so I age was on my side that day.
Yeah. Okay, so back to your other business. So that's some of your playtime. So back to BS Entertainment. You have some shows coming up, and how would you like to proceed in the future? You want to have a show every month, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, we currently have one about every month coming up in August and September. October, it gets a little fuzzy because I actually go out on the road. I have gigs in Iowa, Wisconsin, and Montana.
That's, direct route.
Yeah.
I can see that, yeah.
And so we're doing that. And the goal is if I could have a monthly residency to kind of help build kind of a following or figure out if there is a desire or need in the Peoria area for the entertainment that we bring. And then the ultimate, 3-5 year goal is to maybe not be as mobile and, find a building and potentially have another comedy club option in Peoria to choose from. But, there's a reason why I'm 38 and single. I don't like commitment, so mortgages are about the same, and so unless I know it's wanted, I'm willing to pour my lifeblood into the project itself, but to actually set the roots really depends on just the population.
Right.
And if they want it, I'll help them get it. If they don't, then I'll just kind of.
If you build it, they will come. Is that
a lot of people think it's the field of dreams,
okay.
But last time I checked, the ghost of Richard Pryor hasn't been showing up to people, so
okay.
so the draw isn't quite there.
What's your favorite joke or your favorite topic?
My personal favorite joke is
So, keep it clean.
Yeah, well, that's
right.
I'm currently single. Because apparently my ex-girlfriend thought just because I couldn't see other people meant that she could.
Okay, got it.
So, the double entendre.
It is. That's good. Yes.
And topic-wise, it's everything. Nothing is off limits.
All right.
Except for politics.
Okay.
I don't touch politics with a 10-foot pole.
Well,
guaranteed to split the room 50-50.
It definitely will, and there might even be something breaking out in the audience.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
All right. So what's your favorite joke then, other than the ex-girlfriend? And you're very topical. I mean, you know what's going on in the world.
I mean, I have a couple segments that I really enjoy doing, but I've learned in the decade of doing it that you can script a set as much as you want, but really you have the rule of the triangle, where they love it, they hate it, or they don't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's your job to be able to
wrap it up,
to spin it around. So
God.
if if the river's flowing one way, don't fight the current. But if you hit a rock, know how to bounce off of it and go the other way.
Yeah. I'm being told that I need to wrap this up.
Certainly.
Okay.
And so, if anyone wants to check out what we have coming up, if you just go to blindstein.com, all the BS Entertainment shows will be up there. We also have a great charity that I'm involved with, just from a couple years ago, Santa Bill and the Hospital Helpers that takes kids to the children. And so if you go to my website there, he has a couple events that I'm partnered with like Jokin' and Jammin' and
you're awesome.
And a few other things.
Okay.
So
thank you.
You just got to help out everybody.
Thank you, my dear friend Blindstein.
Thank you, Mama Z.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed him like I do. He is a lot of fun to be around. And I hope you like our wonderful set. And everybody's got a story, and everybody's got something to tell where they live, whatever. If you got something, please get a hold of me here at the station and let me know, and we'll consider this. Thanks for being with us.